Track wrestling here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at Hard Knocks 365 with four-time All-American Logan Storley. This is your home training base, correct?
Yeah, yep.
Long way from Webster, South Dakota.
Yeah, it is.
What is life like here in South Florida for you?
That's good. Mostly, 9 months out of the year I'm here. The other 3 months, I take a few weeks after each fight and go home, go back to the cities and go back to South Dakota and train and see those guys and just hang out and take a little break.
How did you wind up down here, facing your training down here?
Yeah, I went from Phoenix to Vegas, and then I met up with Mike Chandler and Robbie Lawler and a lot of wrestlers down here, and it was a good, Greg Jones is down here, and it was just a lot of wrestling people, and we kind of all had the same mindset, and that's how it all happened.
Undefeated in Bellator, life as a professional athlete, what does day-to-day look like for you?
So it's, I guess Monday through Saturday is kind of the same thing. It's Monday through Saturday morning, it's, 10:30 to 12:30, and then, you go back around anywhere from 3 to 6 o'clock, and, wrestling still 3 times a week, lifting, strength conditioning 2 times a week, and then a lot of just, doing the little basic things, drilling over and over at night. And so Monday through Friday, it's busy. I get the break in the afternoon from 1 to 3, 1 to 4, and then Saturdays we go in the morning, and rest of the day off Saturday and rest of the day off Sunday, and just constant grind, just going back through the same thing. But helps not having class now, and we're not traveling as much because I'm only fighting 4 times a year. So the schedules are a lot different compared to college, and I'm not making weight every week. I'm not on the road Thursday through Sunday, and so it is a lot different,
What were the biggest challenges about making the transition from the mat into the octagon?
I think you just gotta learn to get comfortable getting hit. That's the biggest thing, is because at the end of the day it's competing. You use your wrestling a lot. Us that are wrestlers still wrestle a lot during fights, and boxing, you kind of start to pick up. It's not as much feel as wrestling. Wrestling takes years and years and years, and we still don't, understand totally. You're learning every day in wrestling. So boxing, you can pick up very basic things a lot faster than wrestling, and so, but you have to learn to be okay getting hit, and there's a lot of other ways to lose in MMA compared to wrestling. You can get, tapped out, knocked out, and guys that are good on the ground, where you're good at. So there's a lot of different game plans compared to wrestling. You got to watch out going to your back and giving up, 4-point move or 6-point move, so you got to look at things a little differently in that aspect. But at the same time, you kind of look at it, and guys that weren't wrestlers might kind of look at like they haven't gone through what I've went through. And so I'm going to outwork them every single training camp and every single day, and so that kind of gives you a lot of confidence going into each fight.
What are the odds we see you and Ed Ruth go heads up here in 2020?
He's me and him are both ranked, right in the top 10, and so he's got a fight February 21st, and I'm looking at fighting in March. Don't have an opponent yet, but it'll be a top 10 guy, and he's fighting the top 5, 10 guys. So we'll see. They talked about it, and then he got his fight scheduled with an undefeated guy from, I think, the Ukraine, and so I'm looking at fighting, a guy that gets you to the title shot. So if it's Ed, I got to take care of my fight, and he has to take care of his. Then it's, I guess I get a little redemption, from my freshman year, and so I'm excited for that. But if it isn't Ed, I guess, I don't look at it as, I'm not mad about it. It is what it is. It's over with. I'm just trying to go and win a title, and Bellator, and whether Ed's in my way or not, then I guess we'll figure it out.
You make it back to the Gopher room, and they, of course, every time they come down here, they train here at Hard Knocks. How much does this energize you being around these guys? Yeah,
it's fun. When I was out in Phoenix and Vegas, I was kind of away for 2 years, my first 2 years of MMA, and it's good to get back in the rhythm and the same kind of drills and the match day stuff and the preparation, and kind of seeing what these guys go through. They're cutting weight, and it kind of makes you realize, I don't have the worst schedule in the world, what I do, but at the same time, every time I get to go in there, and my girlfriend lives back in the cities, and get to go stay there for 2 weeks and train with these guys, and I learn a lot, and I still wrestle 3-4 times a week, but going back in and just those little basic things that all these college guys are, they're some of the best in the country. And so to get to work with those guys and Agam and Becker and So it's big for my MMA career and just staying sharp, because I think a lot of guys have sometimes forget their wrestling when they get into MMA and start knocking people out, controlling fights, and wrestling's hard. That's what it is, and that's why a lot of guys don't want to do it once they start their MMA career, and they want to work more in hands and this and that, because it's hard.
What do you wish you knew back when you were in college that you know now?
Man, there's a lot of things that I take away from the biggest thing for me, I guess, and a lot of people will say it, well, I didn't open up enough, and so that's one of those things where at the end of the day, it's a wrestling match. And that's what I tell these guys. I go, it's a wrestling match for 7 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever, the match lasts. But I go, I'm still going to be your friend, and coaches are still going to like you as long as you compete hard for 7 minutes. Everyone makes it up to be this huge thing of, I'm wrestling number 2 ranked guy, number 1 ranked guy in the country, what happens if I lose? All these, where these guys would go open up and wrestle like they do in the practice room and just not care about getting tired and not care about losing. Man, there'd be some of these guys that you'd see, that guy, who is that guy? But a lot of guys just put so much pressure on themselves, and I kind of did that. I'd still open up and I'd find a way to win. And sometimes I made it harder on myself than I needed to, wrestling overtime matches and last-second takedowns. But I think now, just the way I guess with MMA is just, it's a fight. Whatever happens, happens. It's a wrestling match. It's not the end of the world. And so that's one of those things you look back and I watch some of my matches every now and then, and it's just like, man, what was I doing? Why'd you wait 6 minutes to take your shots and open up and wrestle the way that I know I'm capable of wrestling, and being an athlete the whole time. And so those are the things, I talked to those guys and other guys when I was coaching out in Vegas, high school guys. I was just, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. As long as you compete hard for 7 minutes, a lot of good things will happen. So I think these guys, some of these guys really understand that, and Brayton Lee, I think, does a great job of that. And Bailey O'Reilly, those 2 guys really just wrestle as hard as they can for 7 minutes. Win, lose, draw, it is what it is, and you move on to the next. And so that's something that I think every college wrestler, and all of us, still competing, can take with, and just go out there and compete as hard as you can and not worry about the results.
For me, it's hard to think of your career without thinking of guys like Kokish and Brown and Evans. What did you appreciate about the battles with those guys?
I think it was one of those things where after going into every match, you knew it was going to come down to a takedown or a simple mistake or just wrestling, lights out. And but at the end of each of those matches, it was, man, you're just overfilled with joy. You're just so happy that you went out there and accomplished your task, and so they made you work for it every single time. There was no gimme matches, and so when I went on, a few of my runs and beat all those guys, back to back to back, and you worked for everything you got. It wasn't a guy that you went out and beat 10-3, and so it was. And those are matches that you appreciated, level of competition, what your training did for you, those extra things that you did during your career made the difference. And so, yeah, those matches, I think most of mine are always overtime. Kokesh was overtime, I think, every time. And Brown and Evan, they're always 1-point matches and overtime matches. And so when you won that match, you deserved it, and you appreciated getting that win.
Another thing I think about when I think back on your career is how good you were on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And I think of pinning Chris Perry from the bottom in the national duels and some other reversals and things like that. Where were you able to hone those skills? Where did you become good on the bottom?
I think it was kind of my freshman year. I had a high ankle sprain and I was out for 5 weeks, and I wrestled my first duel against Spangler. I think, he's ranked number 5 in the country, and I lost 5-4 or something. Was my first duel, as a Gopher, and I kind of got rode out for a little bit, and I figured out, I got to make guys work on when they're on top and when I'm on bottom, and I had really good hips. I roll a lot and scramble well, and I just started to figure out that if guys were going to try to ride me or throw a leg in or claw or try to tilt me, that I could, figure out how to score reversals and make things uncomfortable for guys. And most people didn't move like me, on bottom. And so it was just kind of, I could take a few more risks. And if I did get taken down or reversed, going for stuff on top, I could find a way to put a guy to his back. And so that's one thing I work with these guys kind of on, is just man, make the guy on top work, make it ugly, you know, and find a way to score and put guys in awkward situations, because most guys don't want to work that hard. You know, if you make them return you 3 times, they're probably going to let you up, or if you get to a reversal, it changes the whole match, you know, just some little things. And so that's kind of what I tell those guys, just keep moving. You know, that guy he'll break a little bit mentally, saying, I've returned this guy 4 times and he won't quit, or every time I take him down, he reverses me. You know, it makes things hard. So, you know, I spent a lot of time just working on little situations over and over and over again, and wrestling guys like Perry and Evans, who always threw in legs. You know, Evans didn't really throw in legs after the first year. You know, he rode my ankle and bumped and figured out ways to ride me. And, you know, Perry, you know, I made him work for every second, you know, when he was on top. So I think it was just one of those things where my freshman year, I figured out that's where we see freshmen now, is if you're not good on bottom, you're going to get beat, you know. And so I knew if I wanted to accomplish the goals of my career, I had to get good on bottom.